Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Not from the District with State Senator Suzanne Weber. State Senator Suzanne Weber is in her office in Salem because we are in session, and we are doing these every week as we want to do in session. Senator, how are you?
Well, I'll tell you, it's been a really busy week. I know this is a Thursday. We still have Friday to go, but let me tell you, we've been on the floor a lot. We have been through education this week. We went through, when we got to education committee, I think we had like 20 bills that we were going to work on passing. I think we got to about 4 of them. And it just brings up the fact that they're not always done. There's always an amendment. There's always something we can do to make it better. We've had a couple of bills on substitute teachers. So we have to work on those. We have other bills that just aren't quite, and so they've been put off into the future. But they're still going to be considered. The other thing is that I wanted to talk about was, the governor has her accountability bill.
And this is a bill. For folks who don't know what this is, the governor has suggested a bill that would put some accountability on funding for education.
Right.
I know there's a lot of folks on the Republican side of the aisle who don't think it's enough, but I'm curious what your thoughts are.
And it's tied to the fact that our reading scores and our math scores are so low, and we keep
start giving money.
And yes, and so she has a rather aggressive, and I have told her that a rather aggressive way of approaching this, and she has had a lot of people working on it. There was another joint education committee meeting this week, and there will most likely be one in the future because there are so many questions concerning it.
Right.
But I said before, the watchword of this session is accountability, and that is what she is aiming for. Accountability for the funds that people are allocated, especially in education. And it's the same way with transportation. Today is the day that the structure for the transportation bill will come out. We've been expecting a press release all afternoon. Haven't seen it as yet. But the chairs have said this is the starting point. And so we'll see what the starting point looks like. We'll see what is going to be expected of us in transportation. I've been getting a lot of people reaching out to me on Highway 6. And as a result, one of the vice chairs from the Transportation Committee and someone from ODOT and myself are going to be meeting with Commissioner Fournier to talk about what it is we can glean from the Highway 6 report that we can put forward. Transportation people said to me, well, you're not, folks in your area haven't been forthright in going after these funds. Well, the thing is, we haven't had a chance.
Right. Well, and that was the entire purpose of the study, because what we didn't want to do is just go after, just put a blank check out there or just a random number that we didn't have any basis in. The purpose of the Highway 6 study report was so that we had a basis to go after that money on, and we have that now, and that's what the purpose is.
We have pages of suggested projects that could be funded. They aren't going to fix everything at once. And yes, it's going to take an astronomical amount of money. But we need to start to go after that, because this week we're going to have a work session on our Highway 30 bill.
Yes.
So if we're going to be asking for this for Highway 30, and we're going to be suggesting that we put the money out there to be able to pay for this, we need to show that we can also take care of Highway 6 because they are both economic drivers.
Right. Well, and that's my question to folks who say, well, we don't have the money to do this. There's other projects. What's your other suggestion? Just letting the highway fall into the river? Because that's kind of where we're at.
Right.
That's our options. Fix it or let it fall into the river.
And people have said, well, you need to have an economic impact study on the highway.
Oh,
well, that's another study. You're going to need money. That's going to probably cost up to $500,000 to be able to create that study and the information from it. And then you're just going to have another study.
Right. We don't necessarily need an economic impact study to know that a massive highway, a highway that connects the coast to the metro area, is used a lot and has an economic impact.
Right.
I guess I don't know what results of that would change the work.
You can say it's going to have this much of an impact. Okay, that much of an impact. You still need to fix the highway.
Right. So again, that brings up your options are fix the highway or let it fall into the river.
Yeah.
So is there going to be a new study to say, well, I guess we should just let it fall into the river? That just does not make any sense. Like that has never seemed like a reasonable option, I think, to any of us, that we just give up on the highway. We've got to fix it. And so here is a list of ways to have it fixed. Had we thought that an option was to not do anything, we would have maybe done the economic impact study before we do the actual study of the job that needs to be done. But the solution, it had never been presented. I don't think any of us have ever thought that just giving up on Highway 6 is an option. That is silly. So, but I am glad that Commissioner Fournier, that's Commissioner Paul Fournier from Tillamook County, and yourself and ODOT are meeting to get this thing ongoing, because this every single year, every single quarter, quite honestly, that we delay this stuff, it gets more expensive.
Right.
So we need to get cracking.
Yes, and in the transportation package, we're probably going to be looking at an increase in gas tax. But the other thing we're most likely going to be looking at is for our electric vehicles to be able to pay their fair share. Because number one, they don't pay a road tax, and number two, they're heavier and put more stress on our highways. And then the other thing we're going to have to look at is the weight mile or diesel tax for our trucks. To make that equitable.
I know you introduced a bill that would have increased the fees for registration on electric vehicles, and also send some of that money back to the local jurisdictions, the cities and the counties. That bill sits in joint transportation. It has not gotten any action, but hopefully that will actually be included in part of the
I'm hoping
part of the package. And that's kind of one of the things about the legislature. You introduce a bill, sometimes that concept does survive. It's just inserted into something else. The bill may just languish, but for like in this situation, maybe the bill doesn't go anywhere, but in the big transportation package that we're hoping to see, the policy will be put into that, since it's a kind of a larger thing. So
and I will tell you that something that is very effective is something called a remonstrance. And you get up on the floor of the Senate, and every senator hears you and hears your concerns. We have one senator who has a remonstrance on something every single day. And
the great thing about the Senate is that your remonstrances are at the beginning.
yes,
So senators are there and they're just starting to listen. The remonstrances in the House are at the end, and I can tell you, because we used to work in the House, you used to be in the House. People be leaving, or they're getting ready to leave.
right.
So this is a lot more effective to have it in the Senate.
But as a result of analyzing this with another member of the Senate, we're going to do an effort to make sure that we keep Highway 30, we keep Highway 6, we keep Highway 26 on the forefront with remonstrances. It's
Right.
2 minutes, 2 minutes to tell them what we think.
Well, Senator, I will say, as we speak, we spoke it into the universe. It is now 3:06 p.m. and the transportation co-chairs have released their infrastructure framework. We won't talk about it right now because it will be substantial, and I don't want us to misspeak on something or miss something. But I'm just kind of perusing over this. But I think we'll make sure that Katie includes this in the newsletter for everybody to see. But so it is out. It will definitely be on our reading list this evening, I am sure.
Oh, I'm sure.
Senator, we always want to try to keep these to 20 minutes, 30 minutes tops. So I do want to talk about a few bills.
Yes.
We've got 2 bills I want to talk about that are moving and we're excited about, and 2 bills that still could move but are not moving yet. So let's talk about the ones that are moving first. Let's start with one that is going to have a vote here very soon on the 8th, on April 8th. This is Senate Bill 1032. This one, I think, when it first came to us, was we just kind of looked at each other and said, "What?" And this actually would put some safety requirements around the sale of defluoroethylene. No, I'm saying it wrong.
It's wrong. That's
defluoroethane.
Ethane. Yeah.
This stuff right here.
Right.
Board duster.
Right.
So tell us about this bill.
Well, this is a bill that comes out of a tragic accident. It is something that young people and not so young people have been buying and using to get high. And we had someone get high on it, and we had an automobile accident, and a young lady was killed as a result of someone being high on this. And so it's something that needs to be controlled. We've had a lot of talk back and forth on it. And at one point in time, it was thought that no one could buy that unless they were 21. It's now been, we had asked that 18 be the age limit on it. And it's now back to 18 in the amendment. And the other was, how many cans of this can you buy at one time? And it's varied, and now it is down to 3 cans that can be sold to someone who is over the age of 18.
Right. I think we're not generally a supporter of like government intrusion into things, but when it is a problem, because they have a federal requirement for labeling.
Yes.
So it is an issue.
Yeah. And we want to make sure that people are aware of, what this can.
Right.
You don't want someone to have small children doing that. And you know what? Actually, you can do a lot of this stuff with just a little paintbrush, instead of having to have a can of expensive stuff.
Well, people, the 3 cans is a lot. I mean, I've had this can here in my office for, better part of 6 months, and it's not even an eighth of the way empty.
Right.
So I don't think most people are going to notice this at all.
Yeah. And there are a lot of heavy equipment operators and mechanics that use this.
Right.
And it was pointed out to us that sometimes they are sold in cases to garages. And so, this is going to cause them some consternation when they go to buy this. However, it was still decided that 3 cans is what a
Right.
sale will be.
Right. So this, as I noted the work session on this bill is on Tuesday, the 8th. The public hearing has already happened, and it's past the deadline to give anything on the record. But if you'd like to make your thoughts known here, certainly we hope you will support it. It is in the Senate Committee on Labor and Business, so you can go to olis.oregonlegislature.gov and look up under committees, Senate Committee on Labor and Business, and you can, there's 5 members, you can email them and make your thoughts known on SB 1032. So let's move on to HB. Now we're moving on to a House bill that you are a co-chief sponsor with Representative Javity. HB 3478. This is going to have a public hearing again on the 8th. So if you do want to register to testify, you can do that. This
and it relates to card locks.
Right. I have these going up.
Yeah, and it increases the gallons. Am I correct? It's the gallons that you can buy.
A number of things. One, it used to be that it had to be to
you had
be part of the card lock system. Would you have to be licensed to do a card lock system? You had to buy at least 900 gallons of fuel a year. So,
and you had to.
My grandfather would buy this stuff personally for his house, so we didn't have to go. So this was always a kind of a challenge that we had to deal with. Like, can we get through 900 gallons of fuel because he didn't drive all that much? This eliminates, doesn't even lower, but eliminates that 900 gallon requirement.
And the other thing is that you had to renew that every so often. Now you only have to renew it every 3 years.
Yeah, it used to be that it was an annual license, and it cost you $300. So over the course of 3 years, it's $900. This would be a 3-year license, and it's $500. So it's gonna save folks $400 who are doing this. So probably not going to affect a ton of your average person, but for those people for who it will affect, it is a big deal. So this is again House Bill 3478. It is currently in the Joint Committee on Transportation, and that's the committee that you sit on, so you'll be hearing it. You can go on to olis.oregonlegislature.gov and you can search for HB 3478. And you can just, if you want to testify in person, you can register. Click register to testify. If you want, but you can also register to testify virtually or via phone. Or if you don't feel like you can do that, you can also just submit written testimony, which is also very important. And you can do that up to 48 hours after the meeting starts. And this will be on, let's see here. It is on the 8th. Which is, and that committee meets at 5 o'clock. So you'll have until the 10th at 5 o'clock to submit testimony on this bill.
It's a good idea to just look these bills up and read them, because sometimes there may be unintended consequences that you may not agree with. We had a bill this week that passed amazingly enough, and I'm not going to tell you which one it is right now because we've been through so many, that had not one item of positive testimony. And in looking at it and thinking about it, the idea was good, but overall, people didn't like it, didn't like what it was going to do. And so when I started reading the testimony before voting on it, I thought, I can't do anything but vote no on this. I'd be disappointing my constituents and everyone else's constituents also.
Right.
So read the bills.
Read the bills, and I will say, even when it passes and that happens, it is noticed when that happens, and hopefully it will go on to possibly see some amendments,
Right.
Sometimes there's political reasons that it passes out of committee, but it won't actually. There's no plan to actually get it all the way through the process. Keep that in mind. That
Yeah.
your comments really do matter, even if it might seem sometimes like it isn't. Doesn't seem like that way. The sausage making behind the scenes, you are affecting that, even if it doesn't seem like it.
So we got
Okay,
more.
got two more. So these are two bills that have not passed, have not had anything happen with them,
Yeah.
or very little happen with them, but they're in committees that are exempt from the deadlines, the chamber deadlines. So one of them has had its public hearing, and that's SB 467. This creates a refundable income tax credit for childcare workers. We had a public hearing on this in February, but nothing's happened yet. Would love to hear. Tell us a little bit about the bill, why you think it's a good one.
Well, why do I think it's a good one? It's because most of the coast and most of our area is in a childcare desert. We don't have that ability to provide that childcare so that we can continue to provide a workforce. And then our childcare workers in facilities are not highly paid. They are in facilities that they may not be able to have benefits, and they certainly don't have a retirement plan associated with it. And this would make it so that tax credit could also be used for a retirement plan, so that there would be some sort of security for their future. Because, wages being low, job security being low, you need to have something that's going to encourage people to want to, especially if you're really good at it, get into the child care market, because it's necessary.
What it does, it not only it creates the refundable tax credit, which a refundable tax credit versus non-refundable tax credit is if a refundable tax credit is if you
your wages,
if you don't pay taxes, or if you pay taxes in not as much as the tax credit, you get the rest refunded back to you.
Right.
So if I owe $10,000 in taxes and I pay $8,000, or if I owe $8,000 in taxes and I pay $8,000 in taxes, but I have this other tax credit, I'll get $2,000 back as a return.
Yes.
So instead of getting nothing back as a return.
Right.
And
or you
the other part of this,
put it into a special account so that you can use it for.
And that's the other part, is that there is a special retirement savings account that citizen that essentially state employees use. It is not only is there PERS is a thing, but also folks can save additional pre-tax. And this would allow childcare workers to buy into that, the Oregon Savings Plan. It can move forward any time here, but it hasn't. So what we'd really encourage folks to do, it is currently in the Senate Committee on Finance and Revenue. That's chaired by Senator Mark Meek. There's 5 members on that, but really the chair is going to make the decision on this. So we encourage folks to reach out to Senator Mark Meek and ask him to schedule a work session for SB 467. It's an important bill. It's just another arrow in the quiver. It's not going to fix the childcare problem, but it is going to be one of those arrows in the quiver. And then we want to do one more. This is SB 1078. This really was born out of some tragedy. We probably all have heard in the news the issues around the St. Helens School District, the St. Helens High School principal, the sexual child abuse that is suspected there. tell us a little bit about this one and
Well,
where it came about.
when we're in the schools, we are mandatory reporters. It is required of us to report these things. And evidently, there was some misunderstanding around the role of the mandatory reporter. And there's been basically no punishment if you didn't do it. Well, what this would do is it would increase the likelihood of a punishment. And by that, I mean that it would go from a misdemeanor 2 to a misdemeanor. It would change the number of the misdemeanor. I'm sorry.
That's okay. That's okay. I believe it would make it a misdemeanor.
2.
I'm trying to read the bill really quick. But it does increase the punishment.
It increases. Yes. So it makes it more important to people, for people to be able to not punish, to report that. It's more important. You have to give it the importance, because there may be something that is going to affect your life if you don't. The other thing it does is it increases the statute of limitation.
Right.
The reason is, when this happens to young people, especially, the statute of limitations right now is 3 years. A lot can happen in 3 years, but a lot can be impactful in 6 years that you may remember, that may affect your life. We were talking today about the PTSD that revolves especially for women around sexual abuse and rape and those sorts of things. And some of these things don't come to light until quite some time after. And
and I think
this would
go ahead.
No, there is provision for you to be able to report this until you're at least 40 years old, and that is a good thing. But I think that being able to have more teeth in what you're doing, and to be able to allow young people to realize that they do have time to be able to report these sorts of things is important.
Right. And I think 3 years, if this abuse were to happen to someone who is a freshman, that 3 years they could still be in high school.
Right.
They could still be in the school and still not feel like they can actually report it.
Right.
So this would extend it so that if it happens, you're freshman in your high school, and you want to talk about it once, you want to wait until you get out of high school, deal with it, you can. Not encouraging that, but you can.
No. But there's peer pressure, there's parental pressure, there's memories, there's all sorts of things that play into this.
Right.
Emotional it's trauma.
So this sits right now in the Senate Committee on Judiciary. Judiciary is a committee that is one of the few policy committees that is not that is exempt from the deadline rules on committees. It has not had a public hearing. It has not had a work session. It really is an important bill to get done. It is a bipartisan, bicameral bill.
And it calls attention to something that is happening right now in society. Like this week, I had conversations with 2 constituents that were talking about this very thing, things that they never thought that they would see in their school districts, and here they are.
Right.
Children being groomed for nefarious reasons.
Well, the chair of the Senate Committee on Judiciary is Senator Floyd Prozanski. Reach out to him, encourage him to set a public hearing and a work session for SB 1078. Really want to get this one across the finish line, especially since all of this happened in Senate District 16 and within the last 6 months or so. So would really like to get this done. All right, Senator, we have already gone very long. Last minute, she's gonna beat us with a wet noodle. Last minute things you'd like to say.
I'd like to thank the Tillamook FFA kids for being here today for Dairy Day, to be able to pass out cheese and milk. It was great to see them all in their blue jackets, and I had my picture taken with them, got to meet them. They used our office to reconnoiter with all of their supplies before they went and passed everything out. And so we have had a group in here every single day this week, and I am glad to see that people are coming into the Capitol once again to be able to bring their concerns.
Awesome. Well, we'll go ahead and wrap it up there, Senator. Thank you very much. Always a pleasure. We will be back at it next week with more information to chat about. In the meantime, thank you very much, everyone, and we'll catch you next time.